homes sitting on the market longer, days on the market on the rise, and closed homes down. I mean, like, I really thought it'd be a great time to bring an expert in economics. So we brought Jason Beck from Georgia Southern University. He's a professor of economics. I'm going to bring him on stage here. So, Jason, how you doing today?
I'm all right, Patrick. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I'm very excited to have you here today, and I don't want to, belabor with a bunch of talk. But the first thing I want to do is, can you tell the audience what your qualifications are and how long you've been being a professor for?
Sure. So yeah, I'm professor of economics here at Georgia Southern. I've been a professor for, this is my 17th academic year.
Wow.
A lot of my research is in residential real estate brokerage, the brokerage process, not necessarily forecasting real estate movements in prices or something, but the impacts of, say, competition on the brokerage component of that transaction. So that's a lot of my academic research, but I teach courses here on both micro and macroeconomics, labor economics, things like that.
All right, cool. Well, you sound like the right guy to have here. So, so for teaching's sake, so people understand, because I know a lot of people get hung up in the Fed's going to drop the rate. So that means the mortgage rates are going to come down. Can you explain exactly when the Fed cuts the Fed funds rate, what does that truly affect?
Yeah, well, so in a nice little simple Econ 101 class, we like to just talk about the interest rate, but obviously that's just sort of the textbook world where everything's sort of nice and well behaved. In the real world, there's an uncountable number of interest rates, from the interest rate that you pay on your credit card to the interest rate that a small business takes out, interest rates on a 10-year treasury note. So the federal funds rate is a specific interest rate that the Federal Reserve targets with all the other interest. Well, all is always a strong word. Maybe I should be a little more careful here. But many of the other interest rates will move with, not necessarily in direct proportion, lockstep. But if the federal funds rate is drifting up, well, then the interest rate on a short-term loan, on a long-term loan, these will tend to be moving generally kind of that cloud of interest rates will kind of be moving in the same direction. So that the federal funds rate, certainly if they target a lower federal funds rate, well, this could have some implications for, say, a 30-year mortgage. If they lower the federal funds rate by 1%, does that necessarily mean that, hey, the next day you can expect a 30-year mortgage rate to decrease by exactly the same amount? No, not necessarily, just because there's so many other things that go into, I'm an economist. Any economist, if you poke them with a stick, they're going to say supply and demand. But that's how prices are determined. And what's the price of borrowable dollars? Well, the interest rate, that is the price. So the federal funds rate will certainly be an influential factor in the mortgage rates, but there's other things going on as well. There's a demand for borrowable dollars, people who want to borrow, and there's also a supply, people who have cash sitting around to lend. So it's trying to think about economics. It always kind of reminds me a little bit of like what meteorologists they're trying to predict the weather. All you see is all you feel is the temperature, or did it rain today? But there's all these high pressure from here, low pressure from there, warm front, cold front. It's all coming together. What's going to be the net effect? Well, it can be tricky to predict. But certainly the Fed decreasing the rates, as I think in sort of conventional wisdom is drifting towards the thought that they probably will. At least a few times this year, maybe at least once, probably a few times this year. It's certainly not going to put upward pressure on interest rates.
Right. Well, it's like you said, it's like, pressure in a weather event is one thing, and then you got, obviously a bunch of other factors that weave in there. But in general, it could help push the rates down potentially, but not a one-to-one correlation, right?
Right. Yeah. But I definitely wouldn't expect. I would expect some downward trend if the Federal Reserve, again, if they drop it by 25 basis points. I wouldn't necessarily expect that to be a 1-to-1 ratio, but yeah, it'd be a downward pressure for sure. How could that not be?
Right. And then, okay, so the Fed funds rate, if it's not, what other interest rates does it affect? Is that like credit cards, car loans, all that kind of stuff?
Well, hypothetically, all of them. I don't know so much about a credit card. That kind of seems like it's its own beast there. But yeah, I mean, I would expect all interest rates, all in quotes, almost all to at least have some downward pressure. From car loan, student loans. Like sometimes I do like some small business consulting on the side. So I've got clients who are trying to get money for small business loans. I mean, this is a relatively expensive borrowing time right now. So it's kind of tricky. So we're kind of hoping that we see some decrease in interest rates on that front for that reason as well. So yeah, all, in quotes, interest rates should have downward pressure. But again, there can always be other things going on as well. Just because you got a warm front, coming in, there could be a cold front the other direction. It doesn't mean that the warm front doesn't push temperatures up or the cold front doesn't push temperatures down. But all we see is the net effect of all those things.
Right. Okay. So I want to move on to the next thing. So like I said, I know everybody highlights that thing. I kind of want to talk about it. I know that the 10-year Treasury bond is really kind of your correlating factor. And that's where you're talking about what's the cost of borrowing and how that pushes, rates up one way or another. But I want to kind of go on to the tariffs next. I mean, I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about how tariffs are going to affect the economy. So how do you feel like it's going to have an effect on housing around America?
Yeah, well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, lots of there could be potential for lots of building materials to become much more expensive. Okay, I'm no construction expert, but we get timber from other countries like Canada. And I was talking with one builder who said, "Well, I'm not too worried about this. I buy American lumber." Like, let's think about this, right? Because you buy American lumber, okay, that's fine. But other people probably buy Canadian lumber. Now, if there's a big tax, now everyone else is going to want to buy American lumber. So this could push the price up for American lumber. So you might find you might not still get the same, even though American lumber is not tariffed, you might see a price increase as the demand for it increases. Right. So it could affect you. But I mean, think about I have no idea what it takes to make cinder blocks and concrete and cement, but like those the elements of those might not all be domestically sourced. Okay, so if construction is more expensive, there's probably going to be the new homes getting built be more expensive. So this could put upward pressure on existing homes, right? A new home, an existing home, these can be substitutes for one another. So if the new ones are getting more expensive, this could put upward more demand for existing, pushing prices up. So it's hard to imagine that the tariffs are going to make housing cheaper. It's hard to imagine that would be a downward force. And again, just like we were talking about with interest rates, there's always, for everything from a house to a pencil, there's always going to be forces out there pushing the price up, forces out there pushing the price down. We just see the net effect of all that. But in isolation, holding all else constant, another one of those economists' favorite.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Take out all the other variables and then.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why people find economists so annoying. But yeah, it's hard to imagine the tariffs are going to increase affordability holding all else constant.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to wages. Now, in Savannah, the average hourly wage has gone from about $22.84 in 2020 to about $28.31 in 2024, which is about a 24% increase. Well, the median home sales price has risen roughly about 78% in the same period of time. So how do you see this gap between wage growth and housing costs affecting affordability locally?
Yeah, and I say this non-rhetorically. I don't know how people are doing it. I don't just mean I don't know how they're doing it. Oh well, like I don't know how they're doing it. I mean, you're in the trenches there, Patrick. You're working with buyers. I'm actually very interested to hear what you have to say. I mean, I look at my neighborhood, a very middle class neighborhood. In 2021, there are houses that would have sold for 250, and that would have been a good price. Now they're upper 300s. I
Right.
don't know how people are doing it. Like, really not. What are you
It's
seeing?
very difficult. I will tell you, and I was just doing this mathematics on my own home when I bought in 2021. And if I had bought my same home today,
Yeah.
it would cost me $1,400 more. And that's a 4-year
Yeah.
period of time, a
Mhm,
month,
mhm.
not
Yeah.
just for the year, but every
Yeah.
single month.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
deal with these, because there's a lot of people that want to get into the housing market, but, when they see the payment they're going to have to pay, they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there's no way I can do that.
Yeah.
So even if we
Yeah.
go, so the competition, typically what ends up happening is we go to new construction. New construction's got the those interest rate buy downs that they are putting on all their homes to get that 3.99, 4.99% interest rate. So that's right now the only game in town. It's kind of trying to tell sellers that if you want to sell your house, you probably got to
Yeah.
use those same types of incentives to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. So to answer your question, the original question there, something's got to give. I mean, when you see, as you pointed out, if wages are growing by X percent, and housing prices are growing by 3X percent, something's got to give. This can't continue forever, except maybe in the absence of continued institutional buyers. So this is something I'd love to hear what you're seeing here. Hear what you're seeing here in Savannah, but certainly I've got some of my small business clients. Some of them are pretty wealthy, and they've really made out pretty well with some of the tax cuts since 2017. So they've got cash sitting on the sidelines. They're like, okay, what do I do? Stock market maybe looks a little bubbly, so bonds, and it's always kind of boring. Hey, let's buy single family homes. So I'm seeing them taking those tax cut money and shoving it into gobbling up these single family homes, which I don't say anything, but in my heart I'm like, oh no, really?
It makes it tough. It makes it tough because you got those buyers coming in, the institutional buyers coming in with cash, and then they're buying the first-time home buyer priced homes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So the first-time home buyers are just getting clobbered. Not only to mention, baby boomers are coming up on the time where they're going to probably be downsizing and then buying smaller homes, which is also going to be hitting the same market.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so first-time home buyers are just getting clobbered over here. It's just been brutal.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, sorry, I don't know where this is going. I mean, how much more of a gap between wages and housing affordability can there be?
I can't imagine. And you actually in my area, I live in Port Wentworth, but you see it in Pooler too. Tons of apartments are coming. To give people more options, but then. Then the houses are sitting on the market. I mean, let me just show you this real quick so you can see. You see prices in Savannah is still going up, and in Pooler and Richmond Hill going down. But the thing I thought was interesting is when you're talking about homes on the market, it's 34% up. Pooler's 52%. Richmond Hill 35%. Homes on the market, and the closed sales are down by 16% in Savannah, 5% in Pooler, almost 9% in Richmond Hill. So if home prices are coming to if homes are coming to the market and, but no one's buying them, that's kind of where I think our market probably needs about a 10 to 15% pullback for home prices so that, people can afford it.
Yeah, it does seem, and I'm not trying to speak outside of my area of expertise here. You would know a lot more about this, but it does seem like there's like a psychological hang up there. People saw the prices that people were getting, that other sellers were getting, at the height, and they're like, hey, this house was selling for $400,000. I want $400,000. Maybe the market's not really bearing that anymore, but they've got it in their mind, understandably so, that hey, this is what my house is worth. So that is one thing that causes me to think about, well, if we do see a decrease in mortgage rates, that could be very helpful for these markets, because the economist in me says, okay, well, if mortgage rates fall, all this does is make the house otherwise more affordable. So then that will get capitalized, and sellers will just ask for a higher price. But if they're already kind of hung up on maybe a price that's not really realistic, well, then the decrease in mortgage rates, because there's we all know there's two components. There's the amount that you pay for the house, and then the amount that you pay for the money to borrow the house. So maybe if people are kind of, if we are to accept the stylized fact that we got a lot of buyers up there that are kind of hung up on their high price, even a slight decrease in mortgage rates might not be capitalized into higher sales prices,
because it won't be enough.
Right. So maybe that'll this is an instance where that'll be have a big impact. Certainly seems plausible to me.
Yeah, I think my thought process is, and I see it. So we have sellers coming to the market. They put their home on the market. It sits for 2-3 months, no showings. They get scared. They don't know what to do. We tell them from the beginning we're about 10-15% too high. Well, they don't want to hear that, because they're, like you said, their neighbors just got all that a year ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're kind of traumatized. And what's been happening is, because they're probably, you've heard of I'm sure you know, the golden handcuff issue that that everybody's dealing with. I don't feel as a handcuff. I mean, I'm happy where I'm at, so thank God I bought the house I like. But for those that feel like they gotta leave, I mean, the 3% interest rate is a difficult thing to do.
Definitely. So all that lock-in that's going on right now, and has been going on for the past few years. Yeah, hopefully as rates come down, that the pressure on that alleviates at least a little bit. Just kind of shake some things loose a little.
Right. So you see 78% of home price increases in the area. Do you think it'll sustain at that level? Or, I mean, I know we've been talking about home prices dropping, but how do you feel in 3 years? The home prices went up by, or 4 years went up by almost 80%. How do you feel?
I don't really know how to reconcile it, because I don't know how people are making these monthly payments at such a higher rate. So my guess would be, in financial markets, like stock markets and whatnot, people like to talk about the animal spirits, and maybe this is real estate is an asset market. So maybe it's a situation where there's just animal spirits that push prices up. Again, maybe I could eat my words a year from now, but it seems like maybe what'll probably happen is, as we've just been talking about, it seems there's a psychological barrier to get people to reduce. So I just think maybe over time, sort of what the market will bear will kind of catch up to where the prices are now, and we'll kind of get back to a little bit more relative affordability, right? Because over time, generally incomes go up a couple percent per year. Obviously, there's going to be inflation as well, at least a couple percent per year. So eventually, sort of what's I don't want to say a fair price, because how do you define fair? But sort of whatever word you want to use, that will sort of match up with the sticker price on houses that we're seeing now, and then we'll sort of get back into a little bit more affordable. But it certainly doesn't seem like they're going to decrease, by 78% and go back to where we were. So yeah, where does this all shake out? I don't know.
Have you heard anything about the foreclosure moratorium they had done during COVID, and how that might be coming to bear here shortly?
No, actually, I haven't. That's a good point. I haven't thought about that in a while. Is that still going on? Are there still homes that would have been foreclosed?
October, I guess there's a couple of things that are coming to bear in October. One is the loan repayment for your student loans, which is going to affect a ton of buyers.
It will.
Because they just won't qualify for a loan because of that. Yes. And then the moratorium where so instead of scaring the public by releasing all these homes that should have been foreclosed on, they've been doing this workup, and you would get a free workout. So like, oh, I can't pay for my loan, so they just take You couldn't pay for 3 months. They take your 3 months and put it on the back end of your loan,
Oh,
interest
yeah,
free, and they would
yeah,
just keep doing it and doing it so that we now, from what I understand, they're just selling off blocks of these bad FHA VA loans
yeah,
and send them to investors so they can go sell it and evict people, all this stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So I didn't know if you had heard anything about the moratorium or anything like that.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not up on that. Although maybe I should be now that you mentioned it. That sounds like something to really look into and think about, because that could be big.
Can I ask you a question? How do you feel about the federal government being so involved in all economics in here, where it just seems like they're just trying to save these big Wall Street people while everybody else keeps getting left behind? How do you feel about the government's intervention in all this stuff?
Well, I mean, it's there's valid things to say on both sides, in my opinion. On the one hand, yes, I mean, government intervention in the market, that's generally something that we don't love generally in the economics profession. Let the market do what it does. On the other hand, I mean, I think about the mortgage crisis of 2008, 2009, and yeah, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road, I guess you could say. It's like, well, do we really want to be laissez-faire and hands-off and allow another Great Depression to happen, or do we want to intervene? I mean, a lot of times, I mean, it's easy to say, oh, just government stay out of it entirely, but then sometimes living with that is not always that palatable. And then a critic to that point could say, yeah, well, maybe it's better to take the pain now rather than perpetuate the system of this weird back and forth. I don't disagree with that. So in general,
at some point, Jason, so someone's gonna have to pay for this pain. I mean, we talk about 2012 rates to 2022 rates. They artificially held them low for all that time, pushing asset prices to where they're unaffordable now. And it's the poor people that pay the price. That's why they don't. The rich people that don't need the help are the ones getting all the help, and then it's the people that are down below, like first-time homebuyers, just getting squeezed from all kinds of directions.
They are. I don't know what. I don't know what's going to happen there. So yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, generally economists were not like very gung ho about government intervention. I don't know. I can think of a few instances where maybe it was necessary. Yeah, I don't know. Necessary is a strong word. Helpful to some people. That's maybe a more easier way to phrase it.
All right. So, how do you feel like the economy is doing in Savannah area? Like,
Savannah right now seems to be okay. I mean, nationally, we're starting to see at least some leveling. Things have been generally pretty good post-COVID. We've had very strong GDP growth, relatively low unemployment, good job creation. Yeah, there was significant inflation, but I mean, look at other countries, other comparable countries to the U.S. They had the same inflation. They had the same, very similar inflation with crappy GDP growth, crappy labor market outcomes. We had inflation, but really good GDP growth and good labor market conditions. Well, those things seem like they're kind of eroding a little bit. So nationally, it looks like too early to really panic yet, but it does seem like there's maybe some headwinds going on. Savannah has generally not been hit too. I mean, historically, in the last 20-25 years, has been a pretty strong economy, even when the national economy was a little bit shaky. I'm no international trade is not my area of particular expertise, but one thing I do worry about is the port. That's a big employer here. I mean, I know they've been killing it for as long. I mean, now we would just take it for granted that every single quarter they're gonna blow the doors off the place with more TEUs, more cargo. But what if there is a significant decrease because of the tariffs and the moving away from international trade? I mean, it seems, again, I'm just kind of speaking outside my area here, but it seems like that could be a headwind for our area. So shipping, we're kind of dependent on that. So if that decreases it's not a good thing for us.
Right.
Tourism, again, it doesn't seem like tourism is growing at this moment. We have a lot of tourists, particularly if we see a recession. Tourism industries tend to suffer a lot more.
Right.
Healthcare, it doesn't seem like this is necessarily expanding. So those are our big three industries, as I understand it, with cuts to Medicaid. Well, the rural hospitals are the ones that are going to really get clobbered on that. So our hospital systems, I don't think, depend as much on, say, Medicaid as some of the rural counties out there, but it's not going to help. So I do see sort of what's going on nationally. We might be a little bit more, even though seems like we've been insulated against a lot of ups and downs, particularly the downs nationally in the past. I don't know. I'm concerned is too strong of a word. I'm thinking about it. As an economist, we're paid to worry about stuff.
Right.
I'm a little bit worried.
All right, so let's kind of finish it off on the housing part. So if someone wanted to buy a home right now, would you recommend doing so, or would you tell them to wait?
Oh God. It's like asking someone to pick a stock. And if you're right, you look like a genius. If you're wrong, they say, that darn professor, he's an idiot. Why did he say that?
Well, at least you prefaced it with that, so we should be good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, listening to some of the stuff you've talked about, about, for example, like the foreclosures, the student loan stuff. As I think about that, maybe if I was considering buying, I might wait to see how that would shake out, with a plan to maybe look at something, end of the year, early 2026, sort of see if those factors have any implication. But then again, I mean, who knows if mortgage rates, if Fed reduces their interest rates, this could be a time to jump on it if and when that happens. So I don't know. I'm beating around the bush here, but probably if it were me, I would probably wait till fall, winter, see what's going on with interest rates, see what's going on with those other factors that you mentioned. That's probably what I would do. But in the end, I think it probably matters more the property. I don't know. You're the pro in this area, but I think like houses are unique, and if you find the right property, I don't know that I'd just wait to see what happens with the foreclosure stuff, for example.
No, I totally agree with you. Like, I always say that if you're ready to buy, just buy, because 10 years from now, you're going to be right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's no, your assets going to rise. No matter what 10 year, you're going to be right. Right.
Yeah. So it's a matter of, does it appreciate by, X percent or X minus 1% because, you bought at the wrong time or something. Yeah, that's true.
Right. There's I mean, like I said, any if you look at it 10 years from now, like you're going to make the right choice. I feel like, and if I was going to give anybody an opinion now, I hear the cracks are, if you're not like dying to move, I would say just kind of keep stacking your money and keep, kind of just maybe just look out there, give me a call. I can show you some stuff, but I feel like the first quarter to second quarter of the 2026, I think that's when I think the housing prices are going to really start to retract. So because I think all those factors are going to come into play, and then you got, of course, the election's going to be coming up during that October. So that's going to be more incentive for people to drop rates. I'm not trying to say they use interest rates to manipulate the population to vote, but it seems like that they use the interest rates to manipulate populations to vote.
Maybe they succeed.
Say what?
They definitely try. I mean, certainly there's been, from Nixon to the present day, politicians have always either explicitly or implicitly tried to influence rates. But the problem is, not to get too bogged down on that, but it's counterproductive, right? Because the Fed has to maintain it needs to maintain its independence, most economists would say, but it also has to maintain its perception that it is independent. So if the president's out there saying lower rates, that's actually kind of counterproductive. It's like when I was a kid, my mom used to say, clean your room. I would be like, I don't want to now. Right. So now the Fed fear, I can guarantee this is a conversation that is had there. Say, well, if we do lower rates, it's going to look like we caved to political pressure and then we lose our credibility. So by pressuring the Fed to lower, that may not get any politician what he or she wants.
Right. Well, right now, I really, well, when Powell's time is over, I don't think he's going to be putting in somebody that is going to say no to him. You know what I'm saying?
Probably
So,
not. And
that's a fear. I wonder if the Fed, Fed chair is under the control of the presidency. How is that going to be for the economy there, Jason?
Not good, because the Federal Reserve controls the money supply and they regulate the financial sector. There has to be credibility there. I mean, now we're really getting into economics lesson, not so much real estate. But if there's no credibility, if investors don't believe that, okay, these people are going to do what's best, or at least what they think is best for the economy in the long run, they're just going to bow to political pressure. When the Fed has no credibility. And it's hard to find any examples in which historically in this country or anywhere where that's a precedent for something good.
So do you think if that does happen, do you think investors are just going to go for stocks? Because I think asset prices will probably go up. You think that's where they're going to run to?
It depends. I mean, as what every economist always says, right? Are they going to pile into stocks? I mean, well, stock, it depends. So hypothetically, the stock price should be a reflection of the expected profitability of that company. So right. Do you think there's going to be some short run spike in the profitability that some investors will try to ride? Like a short term. Hey, I'll invest for a couple months and try to make a quick buck and get out. Contrast that with your long-term investors, the people who have their portfolios and their long-term strategy that may be planning for retirement or managing some long-term, not just one of these, here today, gone tomorrow type scenarios. Well, if you think that the country's central bank is no longer credible, well, then I don't think that would make you think that the long-run profitability of the country or the companies in it has been enhanced. Now, do I think there might be a flood of people in the short run that say, hey, this is a situation that I can exploit for the next 6 months and then make a quick buck? Yeah, that could happen, but it doesn't seem like that a less stable Federal Reserve, a less stable economy, it doesn't seem like that would be perfectly consistent with a long-term investment in the U.S.
Which would mean mortgage rates would rise, right?
So it could be riskier. So people lending money might require a higher premium to cover that risk. So maybe these are all long run things. I mean, the stuff we're talking about, maybe the people watching this or listening to it, they're probably saying, hey, I want to buy a house next year. So the stuff I'm talking about are things that may manifest themselves 5, 10, 20 years from now.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a little bit like, smoking a pack of cigarettes. It's probably not going to kill you today, but it's a little reduces your health in the long run.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, is there anything you want to talk about that I didn't bring up?
I don't guess so. Again, I'm glad you actually brought up a couple things that I hadn't been thinking about. So I was just happy to hear about that. I mean, like I said, you're out there, you're in the trenches, you're seeing this stuff directly. I'm over here in my ivory tower, Patrick. I have to figure out what's going on the ground from people like you.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and shedding some light on some of this stuff, and maybe we'll get you on again and we can talk more about this stuff in depth. How do you feel about that?
Okay. Sure, sounds good. We'll come back and I don't know, 6 months or a year and figure out everything that I said was totally wrong. And
that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
Not if it was wrong.
Yeah.
Not if it was wrong.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
All right, bye.